Psycho, a psychologically complex film, is one of the most twisted and deceptive movies ever produced. Released in the USA in 1960, it is based on Robert Bloch's 1959 novel of the same name. The story revolves around the confrontation between a secretary named Marion Crane, who ends up in an isolated motel after stealing money from her employer, and the disturbed motel manager, Norman Bates. The film grossed approximately $50 million against a budget of $806,000. Summary of Psycho, directed by Alfred Hitchcock. Screenplay by Joseph Stefano. Starring Anthony Perkins, Vera Miles, John Gavin, Martin Balsam, Janet Leigh. Duration: 109 minutes. Plot: the film starts with Marion Crane, a financial secretary in Phoenix, Arizona. Marion is in a motel with her lover, Sam Loomis, who loves her deeply, and she reciprocates his love. But they cannot marry because Sam has many debts, including alimony for his ex-wife. Marion decides she needs money to pay Sam's debts so they can get married. Marion returns to the office, where her boss arrives with a client. The client hands over $40,000, and the boss instructs Marion to deposit it in the bank. However, she steals the money instead and flees to Fairvale, California, to give it to Sam. Marion is not a skilled thief, she is extremely nervous. Seeing her boss pass by her car as she's leaving town, she panics. She becomes exhausted from driving and stops by the roadside, which draws a police officer to check on her. Her odd behavior raises suspicion, but she manages to get rid of him. She buys a new car. Unfortunately, the officer sees her doing this as well. Marion continues driving until a rainstorm forces her to deviate off the road to a small, remote motel run by a shy young man named Norman Bates. Norman is friendly and seems attracted to Marion, but his mother is jealous and malicious as Marion overhears her screaming at Norman. Marion and Norman have dinner together in the office, where Norman reveals that his mother, Norma, is mentally ill. Norman is melancholy and somewhat strange, but talking to him makes Marion realize she cannot continue being a criminal, so she decides to return to Phoenix and return the money. After dinner, Marion returns to her room, changes clothes, and prepares to take a shower. While Norman spies on her through a peephole, acting very suspiciously. As Marion enters the shower, a woman suddenly appears wielding a butcher knife and stabs Marion to death. Norman is horrified by what his mother has done. He rushes to the room, cleans up everything, and puts Marion's body and belongings, including the stolen money, into her car, which he then sinks into the nearby swamp. Marion's sister, Lila, goes to Sam's workplace in Fairvale, asking if he knows Marion's whereabouts. But he knows nothing. A private investigator named Arbogast, hired by the client whose money Marion stole, believes Lila and Sam's story that they don't know where she is and agrees to stay in touch. Arbogast traces Marion to Bates' motel. He questions Norman and asks to speak to his mother, but Norman refuses. Arbogast calls Lila and Sam, updates them, and says he will return to the motel to question Norman's mother later. When Arbogast returns to the motel, he climbs the stairs, and the same knife-wielding woman stabs him to death. Concerned when Arbogast fails to call back, Lila and Sam go to the sheriff. The sheriff speaks to Norman over the phone and suspects nothing. He also informs them that Norman's mother died 10 years ago after poisoning her lover and then herself. Upon receiving the call, Norman goes to his mother, moves her to the fruit cellar to hide her, and faces stern reprimands for his actions. Lila and Sam visit the motel, posing as a married couple. Lila is determined to speak to Norman's mother.